Hello, everyone. Welcome to Jamaica 411. Thank you so much for stopping by, keeping me company as usual. If you're here with me for the first time, welcome, welcome. Please remember to subscribe, share, give the video a thumbs up, as well as feel free to leave your comments in the comments section. To my subscribers, welcome back. Always lovely to have you. Yes, always lovely to have you. And you know the ropes. You're going to go ahead, give the video a thumbs up from now on. You've been doing very nicely. You and my new visitors, yes, you've been doing very nicely. So go ahead, give the video a thumbs up, as well as share. And of course, you know you're quite welcome to leave your comments in the comment section. I don't have to tell you that because you've been doing very nicely there as well. All right, so if you have already given the video a thumbs up, and you're back with me, I want to thank you very much, everyone, for liking and sharing this video. So now that you're all back with me, let's get down to business. So we're going to quickly look at the oversight committee. They're looking into amending the Integrity Commission Act, which is now under review. When the act was first passed in 2017, there was a provision in the act that, because it's a new legislation, that after 5 years, they're going to look at the act to see if it has anything in it that needs to be straightened out, if it's doing what it's supposed to do, if there are any flaws, or so on. So they are taking recommendations from the public, and I do believe Jamaica 411 should put a recommendation in as well. Don't you agree? Yes. And what we are particularly interested in is having the Auditor General removed from the commission and go back to her substantive role as an Auditor General under the Constitution to audit any entity at all that is receiving money from government. And that's the long and short of it. If the Parliament set up that entity as a statutory body, an executive agency, a public body, or a company to carry out certain government functions, all of those are required to be audited by the Auditor General. That also includes programs that the government or the Parliament created, right? Anything to do with taxes being funneled anywhere, the Auditor General is supposed to audit that entity. You follow me? Yes. So I am not quite sure if even, yes, I do believe even when the government receives loans, if the loans are going into any entity anywhere, I do believe that the Auditor General is also required to audit. But I can check that for you on the next occasion. Now, what is happening now with the Integrity Commission is that it is an entity which was established by the Parliament. It is also being funded through the Consolidated Fund, which means it's receiving government money. And yet, the Auditor General is sitting on that commission as one of the commissioners, and therefore she's not in a position to audit them because she then should be auditing herself. And this has been going on since the first Integrity Commission, which was set up in 1973 by the PNP government under the Parliament Integrity of Members Act. The Auditor General has been sitting on that committee ever since then. Yes. And I am of the opinion, and many of us are of the opinion, that she should not be there. She should be the one auditing them. And had she been the one auditing them, she would have been able to do a performance audit on them and straighten out all of these issues that they have. And she would have been able to make recommendations as well to the Parliament as to, what needs to be changed to make them more efficient. As it stands, she's a permanent member of the Integrity Commission, but she has no real power. It's the judge, one of the two judges who are required by law to be the chairman. And then you have three others. So they cannot vote her. So she may not be as effective as she ought to be, or as she would be if she was looking at the situation from the outside, because they're not able to go through the 30 odd thousand statutory declarations, which the Act says must be examined by the Commission. What they're doing is auditing. That's another issue, right? Now, had the Auditor General not been on the Commission, she would have been able to audit and recognize where they're making a mistake, and make proposals. As it is, Seymour Panton said, I do believe it's in one of the reports, I mean, they know that they're supposed to just check, and then once they find that what is submitted agrees with what is on the statutory declaration, they're supposed to pass it on to the Commission. Seymour Panton is saying that he finds it hard to just do that without checking to see whether or not they ought to be certified. But that is not his concern. He must follow the law, and if he was following the law, they would not have this backlog. Where last year, according to their report, they only certified 2 of our 84 parliamentarians, and Mark Goling was one of them, and some other lucky person. There are 82 parliamentarians up until that time when the report was submitted last June or July, I believe it was. July, I think. There were only 2 parliamentarians who were certified. I hear the Englishman who is sitting in our parliament illegally on political platform, saying that the Prime Minister, whose statutory declarations have not been certified since 2021, should not be allowed to continue in the office. It should disqualify him. Well, sir, there are 23 parliamentarians in the current House, according to the report submitted by the Integrity Commission, who have not had their statutory declarations even examined since 2018 when they started. 23 parliamentarians. So they have been dutifully submitting their statutory declaration, and they have not had one of them certified in 8 years. And it is not their fault. It's just that the Integrity Commission is doing audits, and audits take time. You're going to call this institution, you're going to call that institution, and you're going to check this and you're going to check that. Right? When the person may submit the banking statement, you're going to call and ask for this and ask for verification and all that kind of stuff. That is not what the law said they are supposed to do. They're supposed to check to make sure that what is submitted matches what is on the paper, and then pass it on. It's as if you went to the passport office and you submitted your paperwork to receive your passport. The person at the desk is going to check it, make sure that everything that is required, your photograph, it's of the right size, the JP sign it, and everything that needs to be done is done, and all the information that you're supposed to fill out is filled out, and you have your birth paper, and everything that is on the birth paper is what you submit. That is for them job. Once them satisfied that the information is correct, then send it forward. And if it go into the passport section, where they're now going to give you your passport, and then realize a mistake, it coming back out. So that is the role that they're supposed to. Now, if there is a complaint, or they can determine now during the course of any year to do an audit, as long as they do it within a 7-year period, for argument's sake, right? So they do an audit now. They just pick one and say, all right, I'm going to audit this one over there, make sure, say, whatever, or so on and so forth. That's how it's supposed to be done. or if they get a complaint from the public, then they can audit that person's statutory declarations. But if there is no complaint and they have X amount of audits, they want to do, say, 1,000 audits per year out of the 30,000, then they just go and pick who they're going to be auditing, right? So why is the Integrity Commission being managed in this way? This grossly inefficient way, taking unto themselves powers that the law did not give them. They are supposed to check. The use of the word examine is something that the committee will have to define in the law to make it very clear as to what it is they're going to do. So I think that we at Jamaica 411 should make a write to them. The next meeting is on the 4th of February. What you all think? You think it's a good idea? Let me know in the comments section what you think about it. And also if you have any suggestions of your own. Yes. The Integrity Commission now, they are doing what they're doing, and what they're causing is a backlog, huge backlog, where they cannot even certify more than 1,000. I think the last time they certified about 1,200, and that is out of 30,000 statutory declarations that were submitted in that year. And the funny thing about it is they cannot examine the return for those 23 parliamentarians who have not even seen. I mean, their declarations have not even been examined from 2018, much less certified. When they submit 2019, the director of Information and Complaints, Mr. Beresford. You remember him, Craig? Yes, man. Long time when I talk about Craig, you know, that's true. Yes, I did one lock a portion in our cabinet. Yes, man, him same one. He cannot examine any of your statutory declaration that came after that. You understand? He has to examine 2018 first before he can examine 2019, right? So those parliamentarians are sitting there afraid to open their mouth because they're afraid that we might think that the reason why they are not certified is because them have some little hanky-panky thing going on, and the Integrity Commission found out. And so them silent and must be suffering in silence. So when the Englishman is talking about Andrew Holness should not remain as Prime Minister because his has not been certified, what is he to say about his parliamentarians, all 82 of them that did not have their statutory declaration certified last year? And what is it that him expect to say to those 23 parliamentarians, whether members of parliament or senators, we don't know who have not had their statutory declaration examined since 2018, much less certified? So this is a dishonest and a cheap, what you're looking at is cheap politics being played. And instead of him set up the system, him take credit for it, right? And instead of him trying to help the commission by saying and suggesting what it is he intended and his parliamentarians intended when they passed this act, to help the commissioners so that they can get through these statutory declarations, if they understand what it is that the law said. He's not doing that. Instead, he's seeking to use the confusion going on in the Integrity Commission as a political ploy, to be claiming that because your declaration is not certified, you are engaged in illegal activities. Is that so? And because his is certified, he is not engaged in illegal activities, and the people of Jamaica should make him Prime Minister. Failing to tell the people, and we're telling them at Jamaica 411 because that's our responsibility to tell you what's going on. And what is going on is that there are 23 persons up to last year, July. When you add up the number of examined declarations for parliamentarians from 2018 onward. You see that there are 23 of them that have not been examined. Let them look upon them yet, up to last year. And in an effort to get rid of the backlog, what have they done? They have not examined the statutory declarations of 82 of the 84 parliamentarians last year. So they can't go forward this year with anything that is submitted until they clear up that. That's a mess that they're in. But the Englishman is not trying to help them. What the Englishman is trying to do is to fool you into thinking that there's an issue. And the issue is with well, I'm not talking about anybody. I'm talking about the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister's statutory declaration cannot be certified. What happened to the other one that were not even examined? What should we do about those people? And what is more, even those that were examined and been examined and receiving their certification, there are, when you look at the number of the statutory declarations for parliamentarians that were examined and look at the few that were certified, I ask the question again, what should we do with those people? And not just the Prime Minister alone. They have not certified, but the Englishman will have you believe that him alone has the issues. And all because of the secrecy that the Integrity Commission is bound to act under, and that is in the Act. So, I think that we ought to, at Jamaica 411, write to the Parliament Oversight Committee with our recommendations. What you say? You agree? Yes. And what we want to say is that, first of all, we want the Auditor General to be removed as one of the commissioners and let her go back to auditing them as she audit the other government entities. And the second thing that we need to do is to write to the Oversight Committee and ask them to make clear that section to do with the examination of the statutory declarations. It needs clarity as to what it is they should be doing. And then we're going to put forward our proposals. What you say, you agree? Yes, great. Thank you for the approval. Now, I'm going to now let you listen now to that section of the Oversight Committee dealing with what persons were calling the illicit six. They are saying that there's no illicit six, but I do believe that the illicit six was indeed mentioned. They said they were investigating 6 parliamentarians for illicit enrichment and 7 parliamentarians for having made false statement on their declarations. And the next year, which was last year, they said there are 2 more of those persons who they were investigating for false statement. They were investigating them for illicit enrichment. And one of them we know is Andrew Holness. So there are 13 parliamentarians in all being investigated for illicit enrichment and making false statements on their declaration. I don't know where this confusion came from, but we're going to listen and see if we can detect what may have happened. So let's listen now.
All right, good. So go ahead now. When you examine it carefully, Chairman, there's some merit in what the Permanent Secretary's Board is saying. Allegations are made of corruption of public officials. If the Integrity Commission say that they have these allegations, or it may well be that having got the allegation, they're proceeding to investigate and report to Parliament in their annual report that they're investigating X number of parliamentarians and Y number of public officials. There might be no merit in these allegations. What the Permanent Secretary Board is saying is before you announce that you're investigating, at least there should be some evidence that the allegations have some probative value. Now, it could, in fact, all of this could be avoided, Chairman, if the Integrity Commission stick or comply with Section 53. that they don't report investigation. They just investigate and report, which is what I have been saying repeatedly. So that to the extent that they do an investigation, it is obvious that having got an allegation and they're going to investigate. Now, if there's no probative value as they move forward, it is abandoned.
Right.
But what I think the Permanent Secretary Board is concerned about, in my view, is that when you start investigating, you announce that you have these numbers of investigations to do, when behind many of them, there's no merit. And that is what the Permanent Secretary Board is saying. And Section 47 and what is being alleged can be avoided if the IC stop announcing that they're investigating. Just investigate and report.
So what is Delroy Chuck saying here? He's saying that one of the persons, one of the groups that submitted recommendations for amending the act would be the Permanent Secretaries group. That's the Permanent Secretaries. They are in charge of they used to be in charge of the ministries. You have to have a Permanent Secretary. Originally, the Constitution gave them, they were the accounting officer. The Constitution gave them the power to manage the ministries as their name. So they have this body and they made their recommendation. And Chuck is trying to explain to us what that recommendation is. They were not in the Parliament, so we're relying on Delroy. But even if that was not what they were suggesting, what he's saying is that when the Integrity Commission is going to say that we are investigating, let us say for argument's sake, 200 cases, and then they start to categorize these cases. For example, when they say that there were 6 or 8 parliamentarians being investigated for illicit enrichment, permanent secretaries and so on, what it is doing is sullying the reputation of all of them, right? People now begin to talk about these parliamentarians and permanent secretaries. And what he's saying is that ought not to be done. What they should do is to investigate, say that they're investigating so much cases, just a number of cases, but don't put them in categories. Simply do their work, and then when the investigation is completed, they submit the report to the Parliament. And I agree with him. What do you think?
So I just wanted to check something else, whether or not there's any provision in the Act which provides an obligation on the Commission to report on all investigations that it's doing based on all the information that may be coming to it. In other words, is there a provision which says...
You'd be talking about Section 36, Chairman, but the provisions in Section 36 are very, they're very specific. So it speaks to what report can be submitted to Parliament and when. And we have discussed ad nauseum Section 36(3), which gives the Commission the right at any time to submit a report relating to any particular matter, which in the opinion of the Commission requires the attention of Parliament. But if I can just go back a little bit to speak specifically, and I want to read the wording. I know Member Malahoo Fort had read it, what the permanent secretaries are asking to be considered. In relation to Section 47(2), we recommend that the Director of Investigation give consideration to whether the complaint or information submitted to him is supported by evidence of probative value when determining to investigate a matter.
Yes.
I've slowed down my reading for a purpose. Because, Chairman, I think we must be very cautious that the scheme of the Integrity Commission has 3 roles that operate separately. There is a reason why the legislation was written in the way it was written, so that the Director of Complaints receives declarations, receives complaints. At the stage when a complaint becomes a matter requiring investigation, it becomes the purview not of the Director of Complaints, but of the Director of Investigations. The duty of the Director of Investigations is not to determine evidentiary value and the weight of evidence, is to investigate and issue his findings. Those findings are what are considered by the Director of Corruption Prosecution to determine if the matter is to be prosecuted. So we have to be very careful, and I think I imbibe the concern of the Permanent Secretary's Board, but we have to be careful because it is not the Director of Investigation who must weigh his findings. He is simply to investigate and make findings, conclusions about those findings, and those conclusions would go to whether or not the matter is a matter to be tried, lie in the purview of the Director of Corruption Prosecution. And we must be very careful about how we mingle and muddle the three roles.
Too much. I think the concern of the Permanent Secretary Board, as it is certainly of parliamentarians, certainly this parliamentarian, is in your report. Nothing is wrong in saying these investigations are taking place. But when you start being specific to saying we're investigating 1 or 10 permanent secretaries for whatever, then it immediately, brings in question what were the nature of these complaints or investigations being conducted. So all that one is saying is that you're not, the act is clear. When the Director of Investigation get a complaint, investigate. And when you investigate, you use your common sense to see whether or not you continue. But as far as I'm concerned, you don't report that you're investigating, which in my mind, cause reputational damage. Because from you say you're investigating a permanent secretary or a parliamentarian, it questions
any category of people.
Once you start categorizing, you put that body of persons into question, which is exactly what has happened over the past 2 years.
All right, so I think, team, we've really spent a little while on this. Let me ask our legal counsel from the Parliament to make her comment. And yes, I'm coming to you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, members. Based on the question asked by Member Golding Campbell, I looked to the last report that I could find online, and that being the annual report for 2023 to 2024. There is a section of the report that deals with anti-corruption activities, and that is found on page 12 of the said report referenced. There you will find a subheading, Complaints and Information. And there it says, 172 complaints and information were received or identified for assessment by the Commission during the reporting period. 19 of the complaints or information assessed were referred to the Director of Investigation. 85 were closed and 7 were kept in view. The Commission prioritized the more serious complaints or information received during the reporting period. With that said, the report does indicate the number of complaints that it has for the relevant period and whether the number of complaints based on what was referred to the Director of Investigations, how many of those complaints were actually investigated or closed.
But read on it. It spoke about 6 parliamentarians and 28 other public officials.
Right, so that would be found on page 13 of the report, what it did in fact say is that there were 6 reports tabled in the Houses of Parliament. So I'm seeing where under declarations and financial investigations and contract procurement or corruption investigations, it says, during the 2023 to 2024 financial year, a total of 20 complaints were advanced for investigation. 19 of those investigations were made by referrals from the Information and Complaints Division, and the other investigation was initiated by the Director of Investigation. 6 reports were tabled in the Houses of Parliament over the referenced period. Of the 20 complaints referred for investigation by the unit, 14 matters were pursued. All cases being pursued are ongoing and are at varying stages of the investigation process pursuant to Section 33 of the Integrity Commission Act. I am not seeing in that section a reference to there being 6 parliamentarians being investigated, but what I have found in the document thus far is that there were 6 reports tabled in Parliament.
Well, folks, this is what is causing my friends and others to say that there is no illicit 6. The reason why she's not seeing any reference to 6 parliamentarians being investigated for illicit enrichment or anything else, it's because she's looking at the wrong section. She's at page 13. The information about the illicit enrichment is in fact found on page 32 of the annual report last year. And the heading is Information and Complaints Division Referrals. Referrals are made by the Director of Information and Complaints pursuant to sections 38, 42.4, and 43 of the Integrity Commission Act 2017, and in keeping with sections 14 and 15 of the Corruption Prevention Act of 2001. Then now it comes to the offenses under the Integrity Commission Act 2017 and the Corruption Prevention Act of 2001 for the financial year April 1, 2023 to March 31, 2024. So these are the offenses now under the Integrity Commission Act and the Corruption Prevention Act. So there you are. These are the offenses. Then it says parliamentarians and public officers. And what are the offenses under the Act that they are reporting the referrals for? Failure to file a statutory declaration, failure to provide information, providing false information, failure to honor opportunity to discharge liability, illicit enrichment, and other referrals. And as you can see, where it's highlighted, you see illicit enrichment. Section 14 and 15 of the Corruption Prevention Act 2001, it says investigation under parliamentarians. There are 2 for last year and 4 public officials. And that's not the only place that they mention this. They even went so far as to state which set of parliamentarians are under investigation. This information you will now find at page 39 of the annual report last year under the heading Matrix of Statutory Declarations, Examination and Outcomes. And you have several headings. It said in the table below provides details of the matrix of statutory declarations, examination and outcomes during the period April 1, 2018 to March 31, 2024. So this is actually covering the entire period since this new body, the Integrity Commission, came into being. So it wasn't just last year alone. They're saying it's from 2018 until now. They're telling you what it is and who it is they have been investigating. All right, so it says now, let me make it a little bigger so you can see what I'm talking about. So there you have it. This is what Chuck was talking about. The declarants categories. Then the next one will be number of statutory declarations received from the parliamentarians, Number of statutory declarations examined, 278. So of the 416 statutory declarations they received from the parliamentarians, they were only able to examine 278. Number of statutory declarations certified, 168, less than half of what was submitted. So there are parliamentarians in the parliament who, have not had their statutory declarations examined, much less certified, right? Then they say now, number of public officials referred to the Director of Corruption Prosecution for failure to provide information. The next one is number of public officials referred to the Director of Investigation for illicit enrichment and or false information. And the last category is number of work in progress examinations. So for the MPs, 35 of them are work in progress, and the senators, 32. So there's hope if you have not yet received your, if you have not yet been examined. So the last line, you see the total there. So what this is saying, I want you to pay close attention to what I'm telling you. Because between 2018, when the commission started its operation, this new commission, until last year, this is what they are telling you is the status of the statutory declarations. They received a total from everybody, parliamentarians, Senate councillors, permanent secretaries, heads of entities, and other public officials, including the judges. They have received 165,492 statutory declarations. That's a total. How many of them were examined? 2,288 of those statutory declarations were examined. People, let me repeat that. They received over 165,000 statutory declarations and examined only 2,288. How many they have certified? 1,781 during the 6-year period. And Mark Golding is on the platform, political platform, talking about who must not represent us in the parliament because they were not certified. Is this man a clown or what? He should be there talking about this, asking the IC what the hell are doing. Why it is that you're not certifying or examining the people's statutory declaration? What's the problem? You're not doing that. Because that is not what he's about. He's not about trying to help to solve any problem. Film eyes, laser beam focus, forget in a Jamaica house because I know where I want to go there for. And it's not about me and for your business. I can assure you, because if you go look in my constituency, what is he doing down there? A man who has $60 million in his account. That man don't give her prayers. Right? He's not trying to help anybody. So why him want to go in our parliament but he want on prime minister for? It's not for our business. So that is the status. And what Delroy Chuck has been saying, when it comes now to how they are reporting, they are itemizing the number of parliamentarians, senators, councillors, permanent secretaries, heads of entities, other public officials. How many of them are under investigation for illicit enrichment and making false statements on their statutory declaration? That's what he's saying. He's saying that these are just investigations. But when you go and you talk about one permanent secretary that is being investigated for illicit enrichment, it tarnished the whole of them. We don't know how many. I think it's 19 of them. But we don't know, which one of them. So you're going to start to suspect everybody and speculate. And he's saying that now will tarnish their reputation even though you don't name them. So he's saying what they ought to do is simply report. They have, according to them here, 61. How many? 61 investigation in progress. Just report that, right? You can report that so much is for illicit enrichment, so much is for false statement, but do not itemize the description of the persons, whether they are MPs or they are permanent secretaries or anybody like that, until your investigation done on the table in Parliament. Then we now know what are going on. Tell me if you agree or you disagree. I agree with that, because had they not been reporting the matter the way they have, we would have all of this confusion in the country. What we would do is hear when the report was tabled about Andrew Holness. That is when we were here for the first time, and we would not have people out on political platform and talk about a JLP, all of them are JLP MPs, and then the observer start to say 5 of them are PNP and 3 of them are JLP and 1 of them are some high-ranking councillor. You follow me? So I'm saying that the Parliament is going to have to legislate that when the report, this is the annual report, is tabled, they should only state the total number of investigations and not categorize them, because the law does not require that they should do that. That is them doing that of their own initiative, perhaps thinking that they're giving us information, transparent information, then politicians take advantage of it now and start running around the place a fool of people and tell them lie and mislead people, right? As to who is being investigated, and it now becomes a political football and a source of confusion. So I agree with that. Anyway, for those persons who have been saying that there are no investigations into any illicit six, or there are no such thing as illicit six, not true. There are 7 members of Parliament that they said they are investigating. As to where the investigation reached, we do not know. We only have to sit down and wait. And that is a fact because it was reported in the annual report. That young miss, for some reason, I don't know where she was living. Evidently, she was not living here, because she's reading from somewhere in the report, somewhere different, right, than what we have found. And all of them know that it is there. That's why the chairman said, you know what, we're going to give you some time to go check it out and come back, right? So not true, not true. There are 7 members of Parliament that are being investigated for illicit enrichment by the Integrity Commission. So we don't need to proceed any further. I thank you so much for staying with me, for giving the channel your support. Thank you for sharing, liking, subscribing, and leaving your comments in the comment section. Until next time, you take very good care of yourselves and walk good.